Hey everyone, this is another layout update of the White Mountain Railroad, and this time we're focusing on a smaller section of the layout near Big Valley Yard. I'll go through some of the things I did and the overall plan or vision of the entire scene. And I know some time has passed since the last video, and I apologize, but I had some camera trouble that came up and I needed to purchase a replacement to use as a backup. So now that I have that, everything should be smooth again. And now that this train has passed, it's time to jump right into the video. So I'm going to start today by showing a few still shots of the mountain we need to trim down to make room for an additional arrival departure track and to extend the yard lead at the same time. Now the reason I needed to add an extra arrival departure here is for the dedicated locomotive that moves freight from Big Valley all the way to Maine and Pennsylvania using the off layout track. And I'm totally using quotations with my fingers there. And most of this video will be sped up a lot. I knew cutting foam took time, but I didn't realize how much time. Like it was, prepare enough time to do it. So if you're planning on doing the same thing, it's a great time to, catch up on some podcasts or YouTube videos, things like that. My research of how they lay tracks or highways through mountainous areas, they basically choose the path of least resistance and just blow right through it. Earthworks most of the time are more affordable and require little to no maintenance, right? It's earthworks. And I kind of wanted to model that in the layout for a bit of realism. Instead of going around the mountain, like completely around it and having to add more track or trackage, whatever the term is, we cut right into the mountainside. And I knew this ever since I made this section a couple months ago. It makes more sense having to find a way to get the track through instead of building the mountains around the track, because I don't think that looks as realistic in my opinion based on pictures and some research. Now, this is all just my opinion because I'm freelancing the whole layout. But if you're modeling a specific region, then I believe you can put the track and terrain exactly where they need to go in any order because you're mimicking something, right? You already know what it looks like. You know what you have to do. You know exactly where the hills are, you know where the bridge goes, you know how the river flows and the grades of the track, all that. Now, I'm no expert at laying flex track. Like 90% of my layout is Kato Unitrack, and that's all fixed lengths, fixed curves, things like that. So to make sure I don't have like a crazy sharp turn, I basically make it the same radius as the Unitrack that's already there. And since I did it that way, I had to cut out a lot more than I was originally thinking, but that's okay. It'll all look good in the end. The funny thing is though, I had to make more room for the roadbed than the actual track. But my thinking behind that was to have room for natural things like landslides or falling rock and debris. I don't think it's too realistic to have the track pushed right up to the mountain for that reason. And the fact that the longer the car is, the more it'll overhang and actually touch the hillside. I think it doesn't look good, it's crazy. So I actually made more room for the track bed there. And one of the most annoying things is waiting for, everything to dry. Okay, another quick update. YouTube user Fox683, I believe is the name. I think I forgot it already, but I'll flash the name across the screen. He told me that my S-curves at Mustang Creek were a little too sharp, and when I went back and looked at it, I agree, because they were an afterthought. I didn't have enough track, but I found some spare track, one piece. It was broken, but it works, and we fixed the curve. So here's Mustang Creek. This was a very sharp curve. Now it's very smooth easements here. And I like to say that it rolls pretty good. So, thank you, Fox, and any other guys. If you see something up on the layout and I haven't noticed it, or you have some constructive criticism, please don't forget to comment. So now it's time for more cutting, and a side note, I never thought I would have to speed a video up by 3,000%. While I was doing all this sculpting, or whatever you call it, I caught up on some of the other model railroad YouTubers that I enjoy watching, especially William A. He models N and HO scales, and I enjoy how he does scenery. It has that like weathered real look to it, like it's actually been used by the industries, if you know what I mean. And he recently hit 1,000 subscribers, and it's just overall great to watch. I highly recommend him. I'll throw a link in the description. So when I'm cutting all this foam, I try to be as random and sporadic as possible. I don't want it to look like it's unnatural, you know, like you want it to be, it's hard to explain. I wanted it to look like Mother Nature just, you know, went to town on this cliffside here and just tore it up, right? So half the time I wasn't even looking at what I was cutting. Okay, I got most of this area sculpted basically with the hot foam, the knife basically. And I wanted to see what like some of it would look like with the trees and everything. So not permanent, right? Just kind of getting a feel for how our terrain is looking here. Scattered trees. Using the trees as a scene divider from Midlands up there, because you don't want two different locations right next to each other. But I think it is gonna be pretty nice. I don't have them pushed down all the way because these are like big old sugar pine type trees, but I don't have them pushed in all the way, so they are a little tall. But I'm really loving it. So we're gonna use this rock mold base rock stuff and line some of the more flat areas, like right here where these little flat terrace spots are. A lot of rock molds here and there, and I think it'll turn out really good. So what I do, I made all these trees. I thought I had a lot more than I did. I just use like short skewers, and I paint them, and then I just use a furnace filter and throw on a bunch of material. They come out okay. They're not meant for like the close-up trees next to the tracks. They're more as a filler, and that's what I use them for. But like, I just poke a hole in there and then shove the tree in, and I think they look pretty decent. Now, the trees are meant to be tall to give you a little bit of separation from the other side of the track. So eye level, I'm right here, right? You can clearly see the track. But when I use the train cameras and everything, they will be like almost level with the track. You're going to have a hard time seeing or telling that there's a different scene on the other side of that. Same thing for coming up. You're not going to be able to tell that there's buildings and stuff up here when we use the train camera in one of these videos. But I'm pretty happy with it. I have a lot of trees to make. So I think one of the upcoming videos is going to be just different types of trees that I can make, because these are just the pine trees. But I also want deciduous trees along some parts of the track and closer to the towns and everything. I don't want these evergreens everywhere, but they make sense being everywhere. These are the filler trees, and then we'll have deciduous trees around some of the nicer areas. I'd like to thank you for watching the video. If you enjoy the content, please feel free to subscribe and comment down below with your experiences working with foam or any other ideas or tips for future videos. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.